McCrae, if you don't know, also known as the AIRBRUSH assassin. I travel all over the country using creativity, using inspiration and passion to be able to change lives. I realized that a long time ago that my journey was going to be a lonely path. I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Milwaukee can be kind of tough. It's a Midwest city. So at a young age, I realized that I was different. So this is me as a kid, 6 years old, with my little sweater on. I thought I was fly, my little lining, I ain't got as much hair as I used to. Go ahead, boo. So, one of the things that I realized, and my dad is going to be here momentarily, he's doing another function and he'll be here, is my father was the first one that really instilled entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial ways, passion, vision, and gave me a platform to be able to share my gift. So my father was an art teacher in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the Boys and Girls Club in Hillside, the projects, the ghetto, the hood. And he was the first one that showed me how creativity and just digging within inside yourself and finding your your original talent can be able to be used as a tool to be able to share and build everlasting monuments of greatness, as my father says. Go ahead. So this is my mother. She passed away when I was young. We call her Yeye, which means mother. So I kind of, throughout my journey, realized that my father always had the entrepreneurship, leadership kind of like structure, and my mother, she brought that compassion, that love, that nurturing, that reason why I'm putting together a boot camp in Cape Girardeau, kind of love. So she kind of balanced that out, So I'm the oldest out of 5 kids. There's 5 of us. This is my little sister right here. This is Fami, if y'all don't know. She's from Milwaukee, just came on down to come help me out. So I'm just so honored to be able to have family here as well. Go ahead, bro. So this is us. Can y'all see okay? Okay. So this is us. My brothers and sisters are twins. And then I have a younger sister, Nandi. And then the second from the youngest, Omotayo, she just passed away a couple years ago. So I dedicate all of my presentations, all of my workshops, everything that I do with this inspirational move because she taught us how to smile. Go ahead, boo. So if we can, this is Omotayo. We called her Yoki. That was her nickname. So if we can just spend a couple moments just to give her a little prayer, you know what I mean, a little moments of silence for her. Ashe. So one of the things that you're going to hear me say, because I come from an old way of thinking. My father brought me up with an African mind state and focused in on the history and focusing on ancestors. So one of the things that I do before I even go into the spiel is I take some time out to show homage to the people whose shoulders we stand on, our ancestors. So the Mississippi River is the east. So we start off with the east and we pour libation. And this is an African proverb or African chant that means peace be unto us all. Peace on the east, peace on the west, peace on the south, peace on the north. So we start off when we say, Arisha Tolati Alawum, Arisha Tolati Gusu, Arisha Tolati Awowum, Arisha Tolati Awiwa. Ede misi waju mutu bada misi waju, atela tutu ashe. And what that means is allow our road to be clear. Some of you guys then drove here. Some of you guys decided not to go to church. Some of you guys went through major sacrifices to get here. So we say, all the ancestors, God, the higher being, open up the road so we are all wealthy. Open up the road so we are all healthy. Open up the road so we all have the strong mindset that we need to every morning. So I pour libation and we say, I need you guys to say it with me. We say, Omi tutu, ona tutu, ele tutu. So I'm going to say, Omi tutu, let's say Omi tutu.
Omi tutu.
Ona tutu.
Ona tutu.
Ele tutu. So when I pour, we're going to say Omi tutu first. I'm going to do it right on the floor. This is our ancestors. This is what the young boys say, pouring out a little liquor. This is an African proverb that we've been doing, part of our DNA since we've been here. So we say, Omi tutu.
Omi tutu.
Ona tutu.
Ona tutu.
Ile tutu.
Ile tutu.
And we say, tutu la roye. That said, let our road to be clear like water, because water has no enemies, as my father said. So with that, it's so important that a lot of times we got to go backwards to remember who we truly are in our journey of success, in our journey in life. So we always say homage to our ancestors and the shoulders that we stand on. Let's go to the next one. So I'm an 80s baby. I fell in love with hip hop, graffiti, street art at a young age, watching MTV raps. And it was the first time that I seen art and creativity and street art being put on clothing. And I fell in love with it. I was always a kid who was creating and drawing in a corner. You know, I was labeled at a young age with ADHD. And instead of my mother and my father putting me on medication, they decided to show me how to use art and creativity to help me heal and deal with some of the problems and issues that I dealt with. So hip hop is the pace and the momentum and the flow of my message. I use hip hop all the time when I'm dealing with young people because it's a universal language. And they got some, I was in a bookstore in Milwaukee maybe about a month ago having a conversation with some older people at this bookstore in Milwaukee called Personalities. And they was talking about how hip hop is in a culture. And for me, hip hop has been the DNA of my success. So when I say the DNA, see, art and creativity, entrepreneurship, your passion, success is a mindset. And at a really young age, I realized that I wasn't going to do the normal 9-to-5 kind of like structure. I realized that I knew I had something bigger within inside of myself, but the problem that I didn't realize is I didn't understand my true value until something happened. See, my mom and my father went through a divorce. My father moved to Columbus, Ohio. My mother raised 5 kids in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Around 12, 13 years old, I was working with a friend of my father's, and I come home and my little brother is gone. My little brother had gotten into some trouble. Now, some of y'all who raising young boys, you know around 12, 13, 14, hormones get to changing. You can't tell her nothing. And my mom realized that it was time for her to go send me to live with my father. In the African culture, we call it the rites of passage, when you're going from boyhood to manhood. So I remember hopping on a plane. I had my AIRBRUSH equipment with me because by this time I had shoveled snow, I had raked grass, whatever I needed to do to first get my own airbrush. I remember going into a mall. We had a mall in Milwaukee called Capitol Court. And there was a guy airbrushing t-shirts in there. And I remember going into this mall, asking this guy if he would teach me how to airbrush. And he looked at me and he said, I ain't got no time to be babysitting nobody's kids. And I had to make that decision, just like you guys made that decision this morning to be here. Was I going to let this hater or somebody stop me from my dream and my vision? Or was I going to allow it to be able to destroy me? Or was I going to use it as a tool to kind of push me forward? So I decided to use it as a tool to be able to push me forward. I saved up $100, bought my first airbrush. I was 15 years old. I took that airbrush and went to Columbus, Ohio, and I remember the night my father picked me up from the airport. See, my mother, at the time, she got tired of me. She had one rule. She said, you can paint on your stuff, you can paint on your brothers and sisters and stuff, but you better not paint on no walls in my house. That was her number one rule. Don't paint on no walls in my house. Now, I'm growing up, I'm watching MTV raps, I'm feeling myself, I'm getting into tagging and doing graffiti. So my little tag name was Chaos, right? Don't tweet this, that was my little tag name, right? So I'm feeling myself one day, I'm watching your MTV raps, there's some dudes doing graffiti, and my little studio was in the basement. She don't never come in the basement. She send us in the basement, go wash some clothes, go do something. So I'm feeling myself this specific moment, and I tag my little name in the corner, Chaos. One day go by, 2 days go by, I think about a week went by. And like I was saying, my mother taught us how to have compassion for people. So one of the things that she would always do is, it wouldn't be unusual for us to be able to have friends of her family, friends of the family staying with us, kids kind of staying with us for the weekend because they be having some issues with finding a place to stay. So one day I go up after tagging, I go up, get ready to come home. I come home, mom's cooking. I give her little kiss, and she give me a little, go to your room. So I go to my room. I see some bags. Oh, somebody's spending the night, Mom. Who's spending the night? I went in the basement. I seen your little tag. She did the whole hand and everything. These are your bags, and you going to live with your dad in Columbus, Ohio. I remember taking my little AIRBRUSH equipment with me, hopping on that plane. And see, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And Milwaukee, it can get a little hood. But I remember when I got out of that taxi from my brother and my dad picking me up from the airport, we pulled up in front of this building. I call it the Carter. Like New Jack City, the Carter. And I remember pulling up on this building, and my little brother is giving me like a little smirk. You know what I mean? He like, oh, wait till you, whoa. And I'm like, what you smirking about? So I'm jumping at him, and we having our little issues. So I had to go, I took my bags upstairs, and we stayed on the second floor. And I remember I had to use the restroom. I ain't gonna tell y'all what I did, number one and number two, but I had to use the restroom. So I go use the restroom, wash my hands, and no water comes out. It was a little dark, it was still during the daytime. And I just remember, I said, I'm gonna turn the lights on. I hit the switch, no electricity, no light came on. Me, my dad, and my brother lived in an abandoned building for 3 years. No electricity, no running water, no heat. We lived in Columbus, Ohio on Main Street. And my dad worked out something with the slumlord to where we didn't pay any rent as long as we kept the crackheads from breaking in. So right here was the corner. We didn't have any electricity. We didn't have any running water. The city left a faucet on in the basement. And every day, me and my brother and my dad would take puddles, big containers of water, and we'd have to walk it all the way up from this apartment all the way up, and you couldn't get to our side, so we would have to literally climb over this metal rail. And people were sitting here, and they didn't even realize we had buckets over their head. And that was the way that's the only water we had. In the wintertime, no electricity. We had kerosene heaters. Kerosene has that odor, right? So we used to sleep in the same room where our clothes were at. We used to sleep in the same room where this kerosene heater was at. We didn't have a mattress. We had a cot on the floor that my dad built. And I remember looking at my father and I said, Dad, what happened? And he told me, this is life, son. In life, you're going to go through ups, you're going to go through downs. But this is what makes you a man. And I remember the pain, the frustration, the hopelessness, because I was getting ready to have to go to school, family. And this is the school that I went to, Mohawk Middle School. And like I said, all of our clothes were in the same room where this kerosene heater is, so all of my clothes smelled like kerosene. I was getting bullied every day after school. They used to call me kerosene or gas boy. And that was the first time that I realized that bullying and pain and all of that plays a big purpose in our foundation of who we are as adults. Because I realized that bullying, that scared child, is some of the same feelings when I go through in life and I have that pain, that fear. And I remember when I went to Mohawk Middle School, I was always in art class. The art teacher was the only one that used to allow me to be able to come in the room because I was using all that pain as anger. I was the kid in the back of in the class throwing stuff, tearing things up because I was frustrated. But art and creativity was my fuel. And I remember one day this bully came at me. I was drawing, and he looked at my paintings and seen some of my drawings, and every day he would take it and throw it on the ground. Every day. And there's one specific day he looked at it and he said, man, you drew this? I said, yeah. He said, man, how much would you charge me? My little girl's, my girlfriend's birthday getting ready to come up. How much would you charge me to do a little poster? I said, a poster? He said, some bubble letters, some graffiti letters. I said, $1. I said, okay. He said, well, how much for glitter? I said, $1. How much for an extra color?